Hi, Double Book group. So I thought of making a video. You're probably wondering, hey, Steph, why did you send us the video? Well, you know me, I read so many books that I thought instead of trying to tell you guys the books in less than one sentence, why don't I just make a video where I go explaining my books and I give you guys a link and I can give you that and I just tell you about two books or one book that I really like in much more greater description and a show or movie that I really loved. Because I do watch shows and movies that I have so little time to explain it because I read so quickly because it's my job to read and review books. Which you can tell by this YouTube channel I don't do often, even though I read so many. I'm so behind. I get sick. I deal with allergies and stuff. Yay! Being disabled. So yeah, let's start with the books I read in March. I won't talk about the books I read in February, although maybe I should. I might. Oh gosh, this might be February, March, and April. Let's do it. Why not? So I started reading it, and I finally finished The Silence Factory by Brigitte Collinsis. I will put the book cover here, and on the video, I will have the list of books for you guys, so it's easier with the descriptions. So, The Silent Factory is a domestic horror book in the best way. There are elements where you believe that are supernatural explanations, and it turns out, no, it's not supernatural explanations. And there's a slight queer romance involved, but it's mostly how men can't recognize abusive behavior in other men until it happens to them. So we have this gentleman who's working with a man who's making a fabric that can soundproof everything. It basically introduces silence. And it turns people crazy that work there. But everyone around, he's like, okay, I'll work for him. Because he's dealing with his own grief process. But everyone around him's like, don't work with him. He's a terrible person. And he's like, no, it's fine. He's a good person. He's like, no, he's literally a monster. And then finally, he gets to a situation where he's like, oh my gosh, he's actually a monster. And everyone around him's like, yeah, that's what we said. No, really. It's not like we warned you about it. So that's humorous. From Here, I should put my hand right here for it, but yeah, From Here is a queer memoir about a woman who is from, I think it's Libya? She's from a Middle East country that has come out as a lesbian and her whole experience in being a lesbian in a very religiously conservative, a very conservative country, and how she basically had to escape her parents, who were very powerful people, who literally send the FBI to find her, which is like really kind of shocking. So it becomes kind of like Sweet Mama, and then you have these like really action-packed scenes because she literally had to hide from her parents who had political power. So that's really interesting. It talks openly about her suicide attempts, so as someone who is like shocked. I had so many depressive and suicidal thoughts because I felt so wrong for being non-binary and asexual and sapphic romantic, aromantic. It's kind of hard. I don't really know. Sometimes I'm like, I want to have a girlfriend. And other times I'm like, I want to be single for the rest of my life. Romance is overdone. But because of that, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts. And so I would never have imagined, like, my 6-year-old self, my 10-year-old self, my 12-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, my 20-year-old self, I could never imagine that I lived to be 32. Like, I never had that picture in my mind that I'd be 32. So, yay! I'm getting old, which is great for me, because, like, I never thought that I could survive my own self-hatred. I really related to it. But I will do give the warning, it does talk openly about her suicide attempts. The Pumpkin Spice Café is just fluff. Although I do like the fact that the male lead love interest has gone through a Hallmark movie, except it's a realistic Hallmark movie where he, there's someone from out of town and he falls in love and they fall in love. And then he asks her to get married in like this big scenario, except unlike Hallmark movies, she says no. And so because of that, he's kind of like off-putted by romance. But then a new person from the city comes into the town and he's like, I can't fall in love with her. What if she leaves me? It's so bad that with those humors. Not talking about that one because I'm going to talk about that one in the check-in. A Cruel Thirst. My gosh. What can I say about The Cruel Thirst? It's a vampire love story of a young boy who his parents get murdered by vampires. That because he has like a very a sense of justice that almost seems like very autistically related, which is a great thing to talk about, especially in April when it's, Autistic Awareness Month. He has a sense of justice. And so without thinking of his own safety, because he wants justice for his family and to keep other people safe so they don't have to live through he goes into the area, the vampires, and gets turned into a vampire. And with his research and whatnot, he finds out that the sire of his vampire, the person he has to kill to stop being a vampire, is in this little town. And he's like, I'll just go to this town, find the sire, kill the sire, and I'll be free. What he doesn't realize until he gets to the town is that town has vampire hunters. And so we get to our female lead, who is the granddaughter to the head of the vampire family clan. And she just wants to be a vampire hunter, and she doesn't want to get married or have to leave her town. And she wants to be a protector of her town, but no one believes her except her grandfather. And her grandfather passes away, gets killed by a vampire in front of her. So everyone's super overprotective of her, and they meet up and they work together to defeat vampires. Although she's trying not to fall in love with him because he's a vampire. And that's kind of cool that it's based in Mexico. And the vampire mythos is inspired by pre-Hispanic gods. So that's really cool. And it shows how much work and study she did to get the pre-Hispanic gods and actually put the titles of what kind of gods are. So that's cool. Until I Met My Husband is a story about the first gay man, who was religiously, and Japan was religiously, in a religious ceremony, were acknowledged as a same-sex couple. I'm not entirely sure if in Japan they're certified. That ending kind of confused me a little bit, but basically it's his exploration of being a gay man in Japan, where there is kind of not even words for, there's no vogue language to explain what it's like to be a gay man or a lesbian woman or even being queer in Japan. And it talks about him learning how to be queer and kind of rethinking his own child, and it's really sweet and adorable. The last book I read in March is the non-binary memoirs of gender and identity. As a non-binary person, we're kind of close off part of the queer community because there's a ton of questions on what it means to be non-binary, and I questioned that myself too, because there's a question of whether you need to transition like other trans people do. And if you don't transition, are you trans? And me personally, I have no interest in getting testosterone or feminizing my face or masculinizing my face, because I don't fit into wanting to be feminine or masculine. I just want to be comfortable in my clothing, which for me would be having breast reduction surgery. I don't want to have breasts because that's the big cause of my own body dysphoria. And even that, body dysphoria, some non-binary people have a ton of body dysphoria, and some non-binary people don't have a ton of body dysphoria. I'm lucky enough that I don't have wide hips, but that would have caused me a ton of body dysphoria, honestly. But my breasts do cause me a ton of body dysphoria. But non-binary memories of gender and identity has such a diversity of people in the non-binary community that it's nice. It doesn't just present female presenting people that were born presenting female, but there's also male presenting people that identify with the label of non-binary. So it's really cool. Really appreciate the diverse people who give their essays, and not all of it is sad. Some of them are just happy of express the joy of finding the identity of non-binary. So that was delightful. Oh no, I forgot Bury Your Gaze. Oh my gosh, Bury Your Gaze is such a delightful horror novel. So it's about this gay writer who loves horror books and has this show where he's finally going to present his female leads as lesbians. But because the algorithm, which becomes a big aspect of it, decided that the show would make as much money if they were lesbians. So the crew is you should kill your lesbians off, which is where he says, bury your gays, which is a literal quote in a ton of media, that they can't show gay characters being happy or joyful. They just bury your gays, or the dead lesbians or the dead gays comes from. So that's delightful. The villain, oh my gosh, the villain doesn't make sense until you get to the end of the book, and there's a twist to the end of the book that's delightful. So as he's trying to decide to either go through a lawsuit and just like express do what he wants for a show. Characters from his other works of fiction, like his other works like movies and stuff, show up at his door and like want to kill it, and that's terrifying. Oh, I've only read 2 books since April 9th. Oopsie. That's honestly how the heck have I only read 9 books, 2 books, and I'm terrible at planning things. I'm really distracted. So currently, I finished 2 books of April. Hopefully, I might make another video by the end of April to just like send you guys into the email if you guys want. Probably just because, yeah, I don't want to talk about these books in the next one that you guys probably would be interested in. All the books I've read. So I read The Family Outing, a memoir by Jessie Hempel, which is a weird story where she does a project during the quarantine, COVID and whatnot, during the quarantine because of COVID. I don't know if I have to list of it. No, it's fine. I'm not making money out of this. That word you can't say if you don't want to get monetized, but that's fine. I'm not monetized right now. In which she talks to her father, who came out gay, and her mother, who literally lived through the effects of being near a maybe serial killer. Is her sister bi? Her sister's bi. She's a lesbian. And her brother is a trans dude. And it's just them, like, realizing their own identity and how not being truthful to themselves and to each other kind of led to, like, a bomb going off. I finished this recently, and I absolutely adored it. What Monstrous Gods? Which is supposedly, like, a Sleeping Beauty story, but I don't really see it. So basically, but like there is like elements of like, that this is kind of like Sleeping Beauty, in which not even that, like Sleeping Beauty, it's a fairy they don't invite to a party, and the fairy like puts everyone to sleep. It's a wizard who gets magic from someone who's not the god, so they're a bad person, who puts the royal family to sleep. And it's like, okay, that's kind of fine, but turns out it's not fine, because without the royal family, they can't connect to the gods. And without the gods, the country isn't safe. And so, like, plagues and diseases. It really is nice. Plagues and diseases affect the country. And so there's the chosen few who are considered royal family, who have like gold eyes, similar to the royal family. And so we follow a maiden who was raised by nuns after her own family died from one of the plagues that kills really quickly. It's kind of like a miracle that she survives. And she survives. And she kills the wizard. She's a wizard or something. And by doing so, she finds out that she has to get married to the prince and also connect to the gods, who aren't as kind as she was hoping. And the only person that could kind of keep her safe, because she can't really connect with the gods now that she realized how cruel they are, is the same guy who she killed, who's haunting her now. So that's an interesting piece of media. I don't know how to describe it, because it says it's like Sleeping Beauty inspired, but it's not. It's its own thing. So yeah, as of April 18th, that's what I read. Currently reading other books. I won't talk about them until I finish them. But now the shows, television I watched. Adolescence. I watched it. I wasn't really a big fan of it. Like, it's good, but it's I'll admit, like, maybe I have such a low emotional intelligence that the whole like sense of uncomfortable just felt manipulation, and I just like didn't buy it. But the third episode is my favorite episode. It's a very clear example of what a clinical psychologist works, even if she's kind of not fully aware of how to keep herself safe. So that was kind of worrying that she did. I watched Marry My Dead Body, which is a Thai film in which follows like the Chinese thing where they will leave envelopes of money, and if you pick them up, you're ghost married. Except the black guy who picks him up is a cop who's also homophobic, which is really important. And after some hijinks, the gay ghost he gets married to, gets him to try to solve his death. And there's a twist villain, which is hilarious. So it's cheesy and cringy, but it's good. Especially the twist villain, because there's a drug dealer, and the twist villain shows up, and I won't say what they are. The twist villain shows up, and it's like, why do you want to kill me? And they're just staring at him, the drug dealer. He's like, what? Is it because I killed some of your friends? Like, look, I'm a drug dealer. I kill a lot of people. You're not going to make me feel guilty about it. And I'm like, yeah, like, why do you think that, like, trying to make him feel guilty is gonna do anything? So that was hilarious. I also watched Dancing 41, which is a gay Mexican historical film, which is kind of interesting. Of course, everyone in Mexico is like, it's so dirty and disgusting because it's gay. But it's actual events in which the husband of the president's daughter is a gay man who finds a group of secret gay individuals in powerful positions that, like, do opera and, like, have orgies. That makes sense. Have opera and, like, and they have, like, this dance in which certain people do drag, and it has some sexual elements to it. But it's just to show how he has this, like, how he hates the fact that he has to pretend to be straight. So, super interesting. But anyways, they have this dance, and he's at the dance, but because he's the son-in-law of the president, who's a dictator, by the way, which isn't shown in the movie, but my dad was explaining to me he was like, very powerful dictator. Kind of a dictator. He had a dictatorship, like strong control over, like, we morally policed everyone in Mexico. It's also when Guadalajara, most of the most Guadalajara, which is kind of cool. Because I saw someone. But because of that, when they found the dance and guys in women's clothing, they were going to, like, humiliate them and murder them. But seeing that the son-in-law of the president, he was released from it, and it went from the dance of 42 to the dance of 41 because he was written out of the list. So that's really interesting. But yeah, that's what I read, watched from March to April 9th. And I'll probably edit it so it can be a little shorter, but I spent 23 minutes talking about that. So the fact that I'm just going to talk about one book, well, two books technically since it's a duology, seems like a good idea because there's so many people who's going to talk during the book club that I feel like it'd be better time management for all of you guys if I just do my own YouTube videos and I just send it to you guys. I will probably put in a new video if I read after the book club, meaning the check-in, just so you guys hear what I read for the end of April. I see you at the meeting, or see you after the meeting, because you guys might see this video after the meeting.